Well, hello, career thought leaders. This is kind of awkward because I can't get my computer to work, but I said I'd be here. So I want to be here and share what I had to share and share what can help you and your clients as you are thinking about the job search, because job search has gotten challenging and it's not just the market. There are other things going on right now as well that are making job search more challenging. And part of that is a shift away from, even more so, online inbound applications. So I was just doing some research for our newsletter that went out this morning. If you didn't get that newsletter, drop me a note, I'll send it to you. But I was doing some research for our newsletter this morning about how hiring has changed. And we've shared the increase in application numbers before from Ashby, but as I was digging into that report again a little bit deeper, it also shared that the number of jobs, the number of offers provided to people from job boards specifically, has decreased by half from 2021 to 2024. So, and this is something we're hearing from people anecdotally, that inbound applications, especially job boards, have gotten less and less effective as we've increased the number of applications, of course, and as we've increased the number of fake job applicants, bots. And so the Ashby numbers reflect that, just that huge decrease in effectiveness of job board applications. And so what do we need to do instead? And this is a challenge for our job seekers because they're already doing a lot. They feel busy, they feel overwhelmed. And now we're saying you kind of have to do more. But the real truth is that it's not more, it's different. And instead of our persistence coming in applications, and as we've talked about in the last few weeks, instead of using the technology to automate our applications, which may be okay, but only if you're going to spend that time doing the higher ROI, the higher return job search activities. And so if you're just joining us, my apologies. I'm traveling and my camera's not working, but I have stuff I wanted to share today. And this data comes from both Ashby 2025, although the link says 2023, they've updated it for 2024, 2025. Ashby data, as well as a study from Career Plug that looks at applications. This 10 to 13x in terms of efficacy when you're applying through referral, when someone there knows you, when someone there vouches for you, you have a 13 times higher chance of getting that job than you do through an online application. And if you go direct to the company's careers page, you actually have a 4 times better chance of getting that job than if you just go to a job board. So how can we help our clients use this combo of AI and LinkedIn to get out of the online application game? Now, that doesn't mean they still aren't going to apply online. We don't want to miss a good fit role. And this is where some of those technologies, or a GPT that goes and looks for jobs, Google is the highest job board anyway. Use Google, use those tools to build something that, yes, could let you know when there are good fit jobs, or use alerts, whatever. Don't want to miss that. But you want to minimize your time there so that you can spend time in other ways. And this really isn't a change. This is what we've been telling job seekers forever, but it's becoming more important as the efficacy of job boards and inbound applications drops. And from all signs I can see, all conversations I'm hearing, that is just going to continue as the onslaught of application keeps happening. So how can we use LinkedIn to do this a little bit differently? How can we use this, kind of combo of AI plus LinkedIn to do this differently? So the first thing is, and we've been talking about this a little bit, is really understanding what our client's goal is, what our client's connection is to their work, to the jobs that they do. And this has become more important in LinkedIn because, if I can find the thing I want to share with you here, because the LinkedIn algorithm, or maybe you don't even want to call it an algorithm anymore, but I think that's what most of us understand, the system that decides who shows up in a feed and who shows up in a search has changed. It's evolved. It's gotten more advanced. It doesn't just include what was called 360 brew. It also includes these other, they're calling it Gwen 3 and something else, where it's looking at your data in a few different ways. And we talked about this briefly on Tuesday, but maybe you missed it. We'll just go through it quickly here. This idea that it is surfacing people based on the content and how relevant your content is to what that person wants to know about. And that's the retrieval piece. And then the ranking is your interactions, your engagements, your conversations. You're going to show up in higher when you have had those conversations with people and you've been in conversations related to that topic. And so our job seekers, more than ever, need to have a precise understanding of their brand. Who are they? Who needs to know them? And what do they want to be known for? That comes through in their profile, where they're positioning their expertise. It comes through in the experience section of their profile, where they're demonstrating the proof of their results. Comes through in their participation, the way they're engaging on the platform. And then it comes through in their perspective when they're actually sharing their thought leadership on the platform. This is something that, AI can help with this. We've gone through some branding in the past, but this is really where coaches need to step in and help individuals get clarity. What do they want to be known for? What industries do they want to be known in? And how can they build that connection through all of the things that they do, not just their content, their profile, everything that is on the platform. And once you have that defined, the industries and the skills that they really want to be known for, then we can get started with having AI help us with the next few parts. And these are quick, easy ways that we can, one, use AI effectively and efficiently, responsibly, because if you don't do it with these tools, you're going to do it with a Google search and poking around, which is just as much computing power, right? So we can use these tools very quickly to help with these types of tasks. So let's start with, I'm going to use Perplexity today so that we can do this. So let's say your client knows what they want to be known for. They know they want to be known for project management, and they don't quite know what industries they want to be in. I would get them focused on the industry, but let's just play around with this prompt a little bit and see what we can get. So here's the initial prompt, and let me pull this up here. Now we're going to get into our perplexities, what I'm choosing today. This could be done in really any platform, but we're going to have it identify 20 companies likely to need project management skills and based on growth trends. Now, what we could do here, what we would want to do here is either have an industry that they're targeting or maybe a geographic location. Geography is becoming more important again in job search because we know that remote roles are the hardest to get right now. So let's add that in the Denver area, and we'll just get that piece in there so that we can get the labor market data and companies that are specific to that area. So it's going to go through, it's going to do that research. Again, I find this a responsible use of these tools because if you're going to do search any other way, you'd be using computing power anyways. And this is the foundation. It's really a foundational part to our job search, is to be able to have these companies in our, in our arsenal, if you will, because then we can use this to keep moving forward and really dive into how we're going to use these inside of LinkedIn. So then we could ask for competitors and we could ask for any of those additional things. It's given us some of the why they're going to need these skills. And I could ask further there, what are the challenges? What are the specific challenges? What are the skill sets? And then this is where I'd want to align my content to these challenges, to these industries, to these companies, so that I do show up in that search, right? And that's the first step, is just understanding this is what I want to be known for. And then how does it connect to the companies that really matter to me? Because different context, different content, different signals are going to be more important than others for different types of companies. So then we're going to go back to looking at that visual of, okay, now once you've decided this, how do I frame my positioning? How do I frame my accomplishments that matter the most to these organizations? And you can use AI to do this, or you can work through it with your client, but that's the analysis that they need to do. Based on these companies and the challenges that they're facing, what is most important from my background? And if clients are, using AI and they want to put their resume in and have it without any contact information, have it analyze what is the most important based on these industries that I'm targeting. And then it can help us do that connection point of, okay, now I've identified the targets. I'm going to put in the organizations and the strategy to my content, especially my LinkedIn profile, my headline, my about section, and my experience section, making sure that those proof points line up to that. They line up to that infrastructure. Then I'm going to head to LinkedIn. Again, I've done my profile, I've gotten that piece of it ready. Then I'm going to head to LinkedIn and I'm going to do the active pieces of it. And I'm going to start by just putting my cursor in the search bar, hitting enter, and it's going to bring me to the main search page, hopefully, eventually. And I'm going to search by posts. So searching by posts gives us the opportunity to see people who are actually active versus the people who are not active, right? If I just pull up profiles, I might get people who are there, but they're not actually active. So I'm going to click on posts and search by those. And then I'm going to go to all filters over here. And we're going to start by doing it through the author company. So I got my target company list, right? I just did my target company list using Perplexity or whatever. And whatever you want to do with your clients to do that target company list. But it really is the crux to being able to do active job search, because otherwise you're just looking for openings, and that's not an active job search, right? That is passive. That's a reactive, and we don't want to do that. So I'm just going to plug in a few of these that I found in the Denver area. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this, so we might not get the exact companies that I researched, because this is not what we want to be spending our time on. But you can type in those Magic School AI, fun. Type in a few companies. I recommend 15 to 20 companies in here, 10 to 20. And then I'm going to hit show results. So remember, this is author company. So it's the people that work at these companies. What are they posting about? And I'm going to sort it by latest. And this gives me the opportunity to come in here on a regular basis and engage with people who are talking about the things I want to be talking about. Now, if I want to, get it dialed down even more, if I had more target companies in here, especially, I might put in project manager, project management, and see what does that pop up. Does it get me cleaner and clearer results? I don't have enough companies, so I didn't get anything, but I can come back in here. Maybe we want to come back in here, see if we change it to project manager, if we get any better results. Yeah. Okay. So now we've got people in these companies who are talking about project manager roles. And if I have more companies, I'd get better results. But remember, people aren't necessarily needing to engage with the specific job function or the specific hiring manager. It's starting the conversations to talk to people inside the company. So that's what our whole game is here. It's not a game, it's relationship building, right? This is the new way of job search. And one of the challenges that we were sharing in our one of our groups this past week is, it's hard when you've got the same level of effort and people are struggling. They feel like this is harder. But applying to jobs may feel easier, but you're going to have to do more of it because it's less effective. So this process says, okay, I'm going to take my target companies and I'm going to start with relationships. I'm going to start engaging with peers, hiring managers. Alumni connections could be university connections, or they could be people that used to work at companies you used to work at. I can use those search results combined with the posts search area to find people who are posting about the conversations I want to have, right? We had project management, we had our target companies, we could use different keywords, we can add more target companies, sort by latest, go in there on a regular basis and start building those relationships. Doesn't mean that you have to share a ton of content. Actually, commenting is more powerful for relationships. And even today on LinkedIn, that commenting has started to be more powerful for visibility. So you see the layer one, the foundation is building those relationships, engaging with people on the platforms. And I know we tell people this. Hopefully this gives you, one, some more structure, and two, some data as to why this is better. Even though it feels harder, it's got a more effective way to job search than the activities that most people are still doing. And let's help them put it into a process. Let's help them put it into the structure. And then they could use AI to help uncover people. We were talking in our groups this week about how they could use AI even to get ideas for how they might comment on posts, and to write some templates or some structures, some frameworks that they could use for commenting on posts, so that they're building a structure that works for them. And here's the good thing that may take a little while for us to come around to it being a good thing, is when you're doing this, it is a long-term strategy for your career, for connecting, for engaging, for building a community, a professional community that will help you move from job to job, because you're going to be moving more often. So yes, you can use, and here on the right side of this visual, you have some of the mechanics of LinkedIn, where you can, set up job alerts and click I'm interested on those company pages. All of those things can be helpful, but our main goal is to start using the tool to build relationships. And if you want some more thoughts on doing this for your clients, that's what our hidden job market class is all about. I know that people don't love that term. I named it that before hidden job market was such the controversial term it is today. But I left it that way because people search for it, people talk about it. People don't talk about balanced job search, which is really what we teach. How do you help someone set up their job search from the beginning to end with structure, with metrics, with actionable things that they can do for their job search? And then if you're thinking about doing this for your business, if you are a coach, if you're a career services provider and you are in business or wanting to build your business, we have boot camps every quarter. And our next upcoming boot camp is focused on how do we use some of these tools for our own work, for our own thought leadership, for our own business. And the hardest thing I find people have in this setting is, okay, so who do I comment on? I can help my job seekers find their target companies and comment on posts from people that work at their target companies. But what about me? And so we spend part of our time in this boot camp going through, how do you find people to engage with that are going to help you be visible to your target audience, not just other career services providers or other coaches, which is what I see a lot of our colleagues defaulting to. And that's, it's visibility, it's not bad, but it's not getting you into the conversations you need to get into to find your ideal clients, to have your ideal clients see you in the comments with your industry expertise. And how do you find those folks, those communities that you can start participating in as a career services provider? We will go through that in this 3-day boot camp. So it starts next Thursday, gives you a chance to go through, do the research, get some feedback, think about your own positioning and content and presence and participation, and then build a plan for yourself to have structure and have actionable things you can do to improve your LinkedIn business and leads. So that's what we've got coming up here. I'd love your thoughts, your questions as you're helping people use these tools, and how you're using, AI prompts to do research that you find really adds value and in the process, because it is a tool, it does add value. We want to use it responsibly and use it in a way that, it is differentiating, but it does do that for our clients. And so I love to hear how you and your clients are using those tools as well. All right, we are going to have a fabulous conversation on Tuesday with Ann Nakaska about the future of work and how AI is changing the future of work, and get rid of all the gloom and doom and really talk about the opportunities that AI and other technologies are creating in the workplace. So if you're looking for a shot of hope and positivity, Anne will definitely bring that on Tuesday around the future of work and the future of jobs, future of work to be done, and what that means for our job seekers, especially our younger job seekers who may feel a little discouraged with all the gloom and doom talk out there today. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on Tuesday.